Hey, this is Dave with Brazos Barbell, and today we're going to talk about bench press, warm up, setup, bar path, kind of everything that goes into bench pressing. So, what we're doing right now is this is going to be kind of, I'd say, more extensive warm up than what you see a lot of people doing. I've had some shoulder issues, some bicep issues, and even right here with this one's dislocations, you can see that I can't really get my arms back all the way. I have a little bit of a shoulder thing going on right now, so it's hard for me to get my arms all the way around to where that band can get to my butt, but this still does a good job of helping me open up a little bit. But I think we all think we do a good job of warming up for lower body stuff, but upper body stuff we can just get a little bit lazier. So I think a lot of people develop shoulder, elbow injuries by being lazy here. So I make a pretty good effort on actually trying to do a good warm up. So these kind of things have helped tremendously with my health, longevity with my bench pressing, especially I'm trying to bench 3-4 times a week, so these things have been pretty big. Most of these that I got I actually stole from an Instagram account that I'll see if I can find and put in the description of the video. I can't think of what it was right off the top of my head, but all these are just going through some range of motion with your scapula, getting it to move three-dimensionally rather than just having it locked down like we'll get to here in a second when we're actually bench pressing, and creating some stability in that shoulder. So, and then this one right here is really helping me open up my chest and really get some thoracic mobility, which will be a big component when we're actually trying to get set and an arch in the bench press. So these again probably take me 5 minutes to get all the way through all of them, and then it really helps. For one, it helps mindset. It helps you kind of get in the zone of being ready to lift, which I think is one of the biggest things of even including a warm up, and then you're actually physically ready to go. So none of these need to be super long, and then you should be feeling fresh. So now we're going to go over how to get set on the bench. I think there's really two good ways. I think the main thing is going to be that you're getting set with your shoulders first. So this first one that I'm doing is going to be the one that I actually do, and I'll show the second one here in a second. But I'm using the bar to try to leverage my shoulders down directly into the bench, and so we'll pause it here for a second. So what I'm trying to do in this position is that I'm really trying to get a lot of force coming from directly underneath the bar, aiming straight down with my shoulders. So whenever you see me wedging my feet up here in a second, I'm trying to make sure that I'm applying force down from my shoulders into the bench. And so no matter how we're getting set up, whether here in a second we're using the uprights of the bench itself or using the bar or whatever, getting set with your shoulders is going to be the most important thing. That's where the bar is. So everything else is secondary to that. But past that, we're trying to use the bench to pin yourself down, and the rest of it should be quads trying to drive your body up at the bench right there. So we end up getting this curvature where it'll be almost a straight line with full hip extension, and then hopefully kind of this drastic angle right there where we get that arch. So we'll play it, and so the whole time, once I get my shoulders set, that's locked in, I'm using my feet and quads in particular to try to drive my body at the bar. And as I loosen up, as I get warm, this position will improve. A lot of it is going to be my hip flexibility. So I have pretty good thoracic mobility, and I can create a pretty good arch, but I have really long legs, so I struggle getting my feet as far back as I could. So if my legs were short, I'd probably get closer to that really big arch position. My legs are a little bit too long. So this second one is, instead of using the bar initially to get set up with, I can grab the uprights, which I think a lot of times is a little bit more comfortable. But really, same thing is that we're using the bench or the uprights right there to pinch my shoulder blades together. This area I'm really trying to pinch really hard. And another cue that I like to use is I use my lats to try to pull them, or try to pull my rib cage up through my body right here. So if you can think about doing kind of a lat spread and using that to pull your rib cage up through your body, that works pretty well as a cue for feeling of tightness in your upper back. I mean, obviously there's going to be a component of some low back flexion or flexing. Your low back is going to be involved in creating that tightness, but we do want to use as much upper back as possible to create that tightness. So I'll mention it right here while we have the empty bar. What we're going to be talking about is bar path as well. So, and elbow position in relation to the bar. So what I'm looking at right now is going to be that my elbows are always either directly underneath or slightly in front of the bar. So I tend to go with the slight angle. So if we're drawing a line straight down, my elbows are a little bit in front of the bar, but realistically I'd say that the very back side of my elbow is still underneath the bar. Now what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to press the bar backwards just a little bit off my chest and allow for me to get the bar back into a good position to have it over my base of support when I'm actually pressing. So we're going to throw them on warm-ups, and it's going to be the same thing like we did in the squat video, is that, you know, we build our way up. So we'll watch me get set up, and hopefully you can see how my hips will kind of loosen up and I'll be able to get a better position each time. But the biggest factor right here that we're really trying to accomplish through most of this warm-up is just getting that position better and more solid every time. So this position right here is, I think, the main position that I think people need to focus on. Is that in this case right here, I really have force going down into the bench, and I'm using my quads pushing the floor away. I don't know if I can draw a line. That should be coming from my feet, but the floor is getting pushed away from my feet, creating this bow. From, if I have full hip extension and I have that motion right there, I kind of get this sharp angle right there, and I'm trying to maintain that peak basically at this little position right here. That's where I'm really trying to create all the action. So when I lay my butt down, I try to maintain that as my arch and really maintain the force through my feet. From here, I just work my feet back to where I can maintain the full hip extension. So that's a big part of it too. If you lay down and relax on the bench, then you're going to lose some of that arch throughout your back. So we're trying to maintain the force and maintain that full hip extension and not just relax. From there, you'll have a hard time actually having your butt come off the bench if you keep your legs tight and keep pushing at that spot, kind of right around your nipple line should be where most of the arch is happening. So you can see my bar path here is going to be a little bit back and forth, which we'll go over a little bit more here in a second as far as bar path. But generally speaking, the bar is going to translate a little bit. With squats and deadlifts, ideally, you know, we're going to be moving in a straight line. That's not really the case with bench press. The bar will translate a little bit down towards your nipple line, towards maybe your top ab, and then press back towards your shoulders pretty quickly. So, and I'll draw what that'll look like here in a second, and we can do it now. So on the way down, what will happen is the bar will take pretty much a straight line, and I'll try to do it from the middle here, is that the bar will take pretty much a straight line from where it is to that point on my chest, and it'll be a little bit of an angle. Now coming off my chest, I'm going to want it to get back quickly, so it's going to come back and then up, and that's a pretty good line. It may not be quite as back. It's going to be maybe more like a 45 degree before it gets up, but let's see if we can match that line. With the lighter weights, it's going to be harder to see, but I drew a pretty good line. It may be about that angle on the way down. But some of the cues that work with this as we're pressing the bar back is going to be actually to let your elbows unwind. On the way down, a great cue is to lead with your elbows. I want to get my elbows to lead from the position that they're starting with, to draw a line from there to where I want the bar to be. So instead of just picking a spot and trying to touch the bar on your chest, I'm using my elbows to draw that path. So my elbows will lead the way to that spot, and then my elbows will, as I'm pressing off my chest, elbows unwind and kind of get the bar to move back towards my shoulders pretty quickly. So this was a pretty easy deload workout. I worked up to 365. Here's my top single, pretty easy rep, and maybe here coming up for nationals, this may be right below my opener range, but see my whole setup. I make sure I'm nice and tight, full hip extension, get as much of my butt down on the bench as I can. I'm always really fidgety with my feet, but get everything set. And here's a good part too. I think it's good for everybody to use self-unracks, or to at least have the ability to do as much of it as they can. We do have a handoff or the ability to have handoffs at competitions, but at national meets and above that, you can't use your own spotter, and so there's going to be some discrepancy between what you get in the gym, what you're used to, and what you actually get. So I've gotten good at how I unrack the bar myself. So one of the biggest cues is going to be, you can see I pick my head up. I'm trying to push myself away from this bar. When I pick it up, I'm pushing down into the bench, and I've set up close enough to the rack to where I don't have to move the bar very far. I'm already in the position that I want to be in. So being able to do this is a big thing. Even if you actually use the handoff at the competitions, if you're good, you can do it almost all on your own. There's going to be less likelihood that you get messed up by a bad handoff. So even with these heavy weights, I do almost all of my handoffs on my own, and that's helped me a whole lot with consistency at meet. So here, this angle, we can see the bar moving a little bit. We can see how much it goes back and forth. And what we'll try to draw this line here is that it's going to go at the straight angle on the way down, but then it's not going to follow that exact same angle going up. It's going to press more back and then it goes up. So this is probably a better drawing than my last one, is that it's still going up initially off my chest, but it needs to get back and then up first. And my elbows unwind. I don't want to keep them tucked. So it's hard to see, obviously, the plate's from the way here, but we'll move back to the other angle and we may be able to see what my elbows are doing a little bit more. So this workout, I think I did something like 5 sets of 4 with 315 and after that top set. So this is my last easy week before getting going into nationals in 4 weeks. So here we can see my elbows on the way up of the bench. We'll start on this one. So, all right. So on the way down, my elbows lead the way. Is that they tuck, they stay directly underneath the bar. So we're always looking at that. Try to keep that angle of your forearm as vertical as possible. I need to be able to push force into the bar directly vertically, and then I think that they need to be a little bit closer to your hips than your shoulders relative to the bar. So you keep them under the bar just a little bit. I'm not really trying to tuck them to my sides, but I'm trying to keep them situated underneath the bar so that from that position I have good position or good leverage to be able to move the bar back towards my shoulders a little bit better. So as I press, you'll see that my elbows don't stay tucked very quickly. Like right here, they're already moving from that position. They're unwinding a little bit, and flaring a little bit is really the right word. They flare a little bit, but if that happens too soon, that's a problem. But I'm really shifting some of the load from my pecs and my shoulders to a position that is getting off my shoulders and more into my chest. But I have to be able to use my shoulders off the bottom, is why we tuck it just a little bit, and then it ends up being a stronger position for my chest. So we'll see, lead with the elbows and then let them unwind and flare on the way up. Sometimes those get a little bit more dramatic with the heavier weights, but I think those are pretty good examples for it. So hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel.